Another CEO Wisdom podcast, guys, with Ray Meadham. He is CEO at Multiview Media Limited. So we're going to talk about multi-angle and Ray as world record holding. Ray also participated in CS, which is quite cool. Ray, welcome to the pod. Can you tell us a bit more about yourself and about your company?
Yeah, sure. I was a professional musician back in the day, living the rock and roll dream. Got into music education, started managing artists, getting signed to record companies, and hadn't discovered the Beatles, so needed a way to generate more income for the artists I managed. So we came up with how to stream their concerts in multi-angle, and that really led to us creating Multiview Media and the technology that we have today.
Pretty cool. Tell us about the technology in itself for the viewers that cannot see. What you guys do precisely?
Yeah, so if you're one of those people who gets frustrated when the director cuts away from the action at the critical moment, deliver multiple angles for you to switch between. So drummer cam, guitar cam, vocal cam, or if you're watching motorsports, you can watch different drivers. It's not new, the technology is not new, but the way that we deliver it is we've created a way of being able to give the companies data from all the different camera angles. So that's something that doesn't exist in any of our competitors. And also we can make any single angle video player multi-angle. So TikTok, Twitch, YouTube, we can make those multi-angle.
Interesting. Who do you market to?
Mainly to rights holders, content creators. Those are the people who really we go after. So some of the big broadcasters. We're also talking to venues like Silverstone Circuit, who's a customer, and various other sort of venues around the world where they can install the technology and deliver multi-angle from their shows. And then we're working with the brand agencies. So, looking for brands who want to have their brand input into every camera angle and get a better return on their investment.
Interesting. How do you sell to these guys? Because they've got options and I guess they're pretty busy doing their thing, So what's your selling arguments here?
Yeah, so we basically have a list of companies that we want to get to, and in the office we have a game of top trumps. Who knows the best person at that company? I'm lucky that I've got the ex-director of Apple who created iTunes with Steve Jobs and the ex-COO of Barclays. So between those and a few others, we've got quite a few black books of contacts. So we tend to go for the CMOs, the CTOs of the companies that we're working towards, so we can come in at a high level to be able to make those negotiations a little bit easier.
How did you recruited these superstars?
I've known Kelly from iTunes for over 20 odd years. We worked in the music industry, but we never really had a project that we could work on together. But as soon as we set up Multiview, she was really keen to be involved and has been with us from day one. Lee Lamb joined us recently. We were part of an investment round, and she was somebody who wanted to become on as a non-executive director. And she just said, I'm really interested in this, and I think I can help you with the operations and the finance side of the business. And it's like, well, yeah, you're good at spreadsheets. Welcome on board.
Interesting. And I mean, these CMOs that you're targeting, do they have a specific budget? What's the pricing of your solution right now?
Yes, I mean it can be £1,000 a month for a SaaS install, so we can install it using the workflows they already have. Or if they want to use the Jumbotron in your hand, which is the one where you switch between the camera angles at the festival or at the circuit, that's around about £150,000. So it's not expensive to buy the product. What we negotiate is a percentage of the advertising revenue. If you look at somewhere like YouTube, make $93 million a day from advertising revenue, we want 1% of that. So basically that's what we're working on, is that we can charge a low price of entry, but take a percentage of the advertising revenue.
And I'm on the website here. Is it like an app, basically, and it allows you to switch between different camera angles / pictures?
Yeah. So basically, it's a browser experience. It's an app. You can watch it on your television. You can have it embedded where we can embed it in the metaverse. It sits in VR nicely, so you can go into a virtual concert hall and switch between the camera angles. So again, that's why we've built it different to a lot of our competitors, is that it will sit in all of these environments rather than just you've got to have an app and you've got to come to the app to watch it. If you've already got an account with a broadcaster, you don't want to log out and create a new account and log in to watch something different. So that's why we use their technology, their workflow, and to all intents and purposes, it's their player. Just it's our engine that sits behind that.
Is it also made for live events?
Yep, we can do live streaming. So, using WebRTC and a variety of different, streaming processes, we can do it live on site. As I say, motorsport is, the cars are going past at quite high speed, so your latency has to be pretty quick. So yeah, so we've delivered it for live streaming for sports events, and you can have it at music festivals, switch between the stages at music festivals, or even zoom into the artist on the stage and get a closer experience than if you're sat up in the gods in the stadium.
Right. And do you have use cases of some of your customers? So, like you mentioned, Formula One, that you were there not so long ago. Tell us about these customers and how you got each of these accounts.
Yeah, so we started with kind of production companies. So we delivered an American production company who had historic content. During lockdown, we were able to create a festival using their historic content for them. So we streamed BTS and Gary Newman and various artists that they had on their roster. So that's where we started. We then embedded it in ticketing platforms. So again, if you bought a ticket to an event, you would get it as part of an event that you were attending. We've streamed esports games as well. So we've gone into the esports world and started to stream esports. And now we're working with the bigger customers, so Cognizant, Tata Communications, so that we're working with the motorsports, the MotoGPs, and the Formula Ones to try and kind of move into that next level of customer.
And these big names, do you straight up have them pay for the solution off the bat, or do you partner up with them, give them a special deal so that you can use their brand and then their likeness?
Yeah, you have to kind of play the game. Sometimes we ask for prepaid royalties, so they give us some money up front, knowing that they'll get it back afterwards. So that at least gives us some kind of money to sort of develop and deliver the product for them. Some customers, it's very much a partnership, and we've kind of got reseller agreements with Brightcove, Bitmoving, and Theo Player, who are the video platforms. So again, we can utilize their client base. So somebody like Brightcove has Adobe as a customer. So we're saying, look, we've built it for Brightcove. Now Adobe should be able to use it, and then they'll get a percentage of the reseller agreement. So yeah, we have a SaaS agreement, a B2B agreement, and a B2C arrangement. So we can scale those on different companies depending on their requirements.
I see that you're big on culture. Can you tell us about the why behind your culture and then the what? What is your culture?
Yeah, so when we first set up the company, it was very clear that you have to establish a culture from day one. So ours is communicate, create, contribute, listen, and lead. So whether you're Kelly, who's the director of iTunes and Apple, or whether you're myself or the CTO, whatever, we all respect each other. We all contribute. We all have a part to play in the business. So there's no kind of, well, I'm bigger than you, or it's my company and you've got to do this. It's very much about what can we do to move this solution forwards, and so that's what everybody does, and they contribute what they need to do, and they all have a part to play in that. And yeah, we all, and you never stop learning. I go on a lot of accelerators. I've been on a lot of kind of events where you learn from people and you're constantly reading and researching. So you never stop that kind of process. So yeah, it's very much about being open and honest, and using those kind of five principles.
These accelerators, were they a positive ROI? Because most of the time you either need to pay them or give them a share of your company. Do you feel was a good ROI for you?
We've never done anywhere we've had to give them a percentage of the company. I'm not prepared to give away 15-20% of the company just to learn about how to improve my pitch deck, or how to potentially meet investors. So we've never done those. The ones we have done have kind of led to us having a focus on. I went on a 5G accelerator, which allowed me to then work in the 5G world, use test beds, and talk about the next generation of technology. So yeah, we've kind of focused on the ones that will benefit the business, but we've never had to pay or given away equity in the business.
Interesting. You have participated to CS. You've won the World Guinness award thing or certificate. Tell us about both of these events, the why and the how.
Sure. Well, CES came about because we spoke to Verizon about our technology, and they said, look, we'd really like to feature this at CES. So we built a specific platform for them to be able to demonstrate. So we were rolled out at CES by Verizon, and awarded best use of tech. So that was kind of a nice accolade to have. The Guinness World Record, I was working for a school, and a lady came and said she got the world's loudest purring cat and she wanted it recorded. And so I said to the students, you want to do this? This would be great on your CV. And not one of the students decided to do it. So I ended up recording this cat, and that's why I've got the certificate behind me. But it was the highest viewed YouTube video of its week at that time. And it's been, it's certainly more of a talking point than the business sometimes.
Wow. Okay. And that's an odd one. Love it. What else of that is like weird and remarkable have you done in your either business or personal life so far?
Yeah, I think just, I mean, being a musician, obviously I've played some famous venues and worked with famous artists, and I've managed artists who've played at Madison Square Gardens and Las Vegas. So, I've been very lucky that everything that I've done when I was in teaching, I've taught students who've become household names in the music industry, or producing, artists like Lewis Capaldi and things like that. So, I've been very lucky to work with an awful lot of clever and intelligent and successful people. But yeah, I've kind of, if I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it to the best of my ability and try and be, the best at what I am. And I did that as a trombonist. I've done that as a teacher, and I'm doing that as an entrepreneur. So I think you have to kind of fight through the noise to get to be somewhere in any business or industry that you want to work in.
What have you learned from these top artists, and what lessons did you bring back to your own CEO career?
I think it's about not to worry about some of the small talk. I think artists, if you read every review and every bit of information, you'll end up having sleepless nights. We all have a vision. As a musician, you have a vision for the album. As an entrepreneur, you have a vision for the product. It's about believing in that vision, and if you have a problem, you find a solution and you move the project forward. You don't give up at the first hurdle. Otherwise nobody's ever going to hear about your product or hear you as a musician. So I think you just have to believe that you're doing the right thing, and you find people who believe in what you're doing. The Swifties all believe in Taylor Swift. She's created that enormous fan base based around her music and who she is. You know, Richard Branson's done the same with Virgin. You've got people who build entrepreneurs and build traction based on the personality and who they are and the vision that they have and the story that they tell. And I think you can learn a lot from those kind of people.
Right. What are your goals this year for your media company, and how far do you feel that you've accomplished these goals now that we're 6 months in the year?
Yeah, I think we had a slower start to the year, but we've now got lots of contracts for the Q3 and Q4. I mean, our KPI is to clear £1 million revenue again this year. So we need to get to that point. So that requires some things to happen. We want to expand into USA and into India. We've already had conversations with some key players in those countries, so that's well underway. And also, we're building the largest 6G hub in Europe at Silverstone to be at the forefront of the next decade of broadcasting. So we're kind of working on a variety of sort of fronts: the here and now, the next stage, and then the next decade. So we're kind of laying those kind of roadmap out.
Interesting. What do you feel is the next urgent step for the companies? Are you guys raising, or is it more a focus in sales as of now?
Yeah, we were in a funding round, but again, it was taking too much effort away from us revenue generating. So we've still got some feelers out with some investors, but primarily we're a revenue generating company now. We want to grow through revenue. We want to deliver the product. We're working, talking to TikTok, talking to some really big clients about rolling the technology out for 2024. So it's about us kind of focusing on those things rather than chasing up, one or two investors who sometimes you get tire kickers, sometimes you get, people who ask a million questions but are only putting in £50 into the company. So, we'd rather focus on where the money is, which is the customers, rather than the investment.
Love it. Where can people find out more about you, Ray?
So if you go to multiviewmedia.co.uk, you can obviously look at some of the products and so on. We're about to upload new versions of the technology so you can play with the switching functions and kind of upload stuff and play with it. So that's all coming live. And we're also working on a new AI package to go with the player as well. So that will all be live on the site fairly soon as well. So yeah, keep an eye on what's coming, and you probably already used it, just didn't know that we were the engine behind the multi-angle player that you've already used.